Hunter Biden's federal gun trial resumes in Delaware later this morning, a day after some of the most emotionally charged testimony so far. Hallie Biden, the widow of Hunter Biden's brother Beau, testified yesterday, describing to the jury the dark years after her husband died of brain cancer in 2015. Hallie, who had a relationship with Hunter following her late husband's death, described how she started using drugs after Hunter introduced them to her, and how Hunter was sometimes in denial about his own addiction. She also testified about finding his gun in his car. Prosecutors are expected to rest their case today. The defense says it may call 2 or 3 witnesses, but Hunter Biden's defense attorney says the team has not yet decided if Hunter will testify in his own defense. Hunter Biden faces felony charges over whether he lied on a federal gun form in 2018 that asked if he was addicted to drugs. He has pleaded not guilty. Meanwhile, President Biden is reiterating he will not pardon his son Hunter if he is convicted in that federal gun trial.
As we sit here in Normandy, your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Pretty clear there, Gene Robinson, and a significant moment. We should stop there because this is a president of the United States talking about his own son, saying he will accept the verdict no matter what it is, and that he has ruled out pardoning his own son. Contrast that from what we hear from Donald Trump and everybody around him who says if anything cuts against him, the system is rigged, it is weaponized, it is an effort by President Biden himself to put Donald Trump in jail during the presidential year. That bite should not be extraordinary from President Biden, but in our times it is, and important.
It is important. Remember, Donald Trump has promised to pardon the January 6th rioters, the January 6th insurrectionists, and President Biden has promised not to pardon his own son. This is a tragedy, really, a story that is familiar, I think, to far too many families across this country, a story of addiction and the sort of spiral and that doesn't seem to have a bottom at times. And it was really, really wrenching yesterday, the testimony by Hallie Biden, and it doesn't take away the alleged crime that Hunter Biden committed by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think that people maybe understand this on human terms, and he will take the consequences, whatever those are. But this is a story that's, as I said, is just too familiar to far too many families.
So, Lisa, the prosecution says it likely will rest today. We don't know what the defense has planned for next week. But for people not following along, how has this prosecution case been made so far? Has it been effective? And what do you expect to see from the defense?
Well, the prosecution case, Willie, has focused really heavily on Hunter Biden's addiction, sometimes even using his own words against him in the form of an audio version of the book that he authored. What they are trying to show is that Hunter Biden knowingly and intentionally lied on the form that he needed to fill out when he purchased the gun, that he understood that he was a habitual drug user, because they have testimony from all these people who are surrounding him throughout the period who are testifying to his drug use. As Gene just noted, that testimony was wrenching. It is messy. It calls up not only the sympathies of anybody who's had a family member who struggled with addiction, but just the messiness of family life. And there is no situation messier for the Bidens than the entanglement between Hunter and his sister-in-law, Hallie Biden, that was exposed in full color yesterday. I very much feel for this family, and I feel for these jurors, too, who are being asked to make a decision about the future of someone who has so publicly struggled with addiction and yet has also, in maybe stark terms, violated the law to its letter, if not its spirit.
And let's be clear, despite Republican efforts, there's no equivalence here between the conviction for Donald Trump, who is running for office, and Hunter Biden on trial, certainly not seeking any sort of public office, and nonetheless the White House. In terms of the fallout as to what's to come here, it's both political and personal. political. Even if Hunter Biden were to be convicted, most those in the Biden campaign, and frankly, those I've spoken to the Trump campaign, don't think it's going to move the needle too much. Most Americans, first of all, are sympathetic to stories of addiction. You Republicans have tried to make Hunter Biden a major issue since all the way back in 2020. We've seen impeachment hearings, inquiry hearings centered around him. None of that has really gotten any traction. There's not, yes, it will, of course, be a few days of bad headlines if there's a conviction. No one seems to think this will alter the trajectory of the race all that much. But there's also, perhaps more important, the personal toll on the president. I've been told by advisors, even though he is overseas, he is still keeping tabs of the trial. The White House does not have a war room. The White House does not have a representative in Wilmington. But the president still continues to reach out to his son. He communicates with Hunter each and every day. There are other relatives who are there in the courtroom. He's been talking to them, following a little bit on media coverage. If a conviction were to come, particularly if it was to be accompanied by a prison sentence, there's a sense, Willie, that would really weigh heavily on this president. And as evidence of that, First Lady Jill Biden in Normandy yesterday for the D-Day ceremonies has flown back to Wilmington. She will be with her son today in court, and then afterwards returns to Paris to join her husband for the state dinner tomorrow. This is weighing very heavily on the entire Biden family.
Yeah, the First Lady's been shuttling between the trial in Delaware and France, just to be at the side of Hunter Biden. And again, we have to underline, in no uncertain terms, President Biden saying, I will accept the outcome. I will just accept what the jury decides here. That's the way our legal system works. And no, I will not pardon my own son if he is convicted. MSNBC legal correspondent Lisa Rubin. Lisa, thank you as always. We appreciate it.